This is Talkin Cowboys.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com.
And the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Jason Witten is in the end zone. Intercepted. Sean Lee. Touchdown. Des Bryant.
Now, your hosts, Mickey Spagnola, Nate Newton, and Rob Phillips.
Good morning from the Star in Frisco, and welcome to Talkin Cowboys, back for another week inside the SWBC Mortgage Studio. Rob, Mickey, Nate, Kent Garrison next door inside the new Garrison. A second full week of free agency is here, and we've got a lot to cover once again for the next hour, guys.
What's going on?
How about that?
How about it?
Get your fill of basketball yet?
I watched way too much over the weekend, even for me. But it was a weekend well spent.
Next week is when I start watching. I'm not pumped up about the first round. I mean, never have. I mean, it's like now the games get intense. All the smart teams, the teams that, you know, can think their way through, you know, each little deal, because all that other stuff, that's just good fodder. That's all it is.
It was like the first round of American Idol.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch that.
No.
Get the riffraff out of there.
Yes, sir.
Now we get down to serious basketball.
Yes, people that can think past. Oh my!
Hey, there were some good games over the weekend.
Yeah,
there weren't a lot of upsets
fun,
in the first two rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it made for some better matchups on Saturday and Sunday. And my wife had no idea what she was getting into.
Yeah.
I would just sit on the couch and watch all.
You mean that was the first time?
Yeah, I mean, we'd never lived together. She didn't quite understand what a freak I am when it comes to basketball.
And she didn't hang out with you before you got married,
right,
like during this week end.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody always did their own thing, huh?
Pretty much.
Wow, I listened to a few games. You know, I knew Duke would be pretty tired. I know Duke had a pretty good team, but by them winning the ACC championship, it showed up on them. I mean, they had to extend themselves to come back and beat North Carolina, then come back and beat not come back and beat North, but beat Notre Dame. Florida State, Mick. The worst talent in the world is undisciplined talent.
Yep.
That's the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah.
Just undisciplined. Got all the guys that can jump, shoot, do all these great things, but slow the game down, possession by possession, and they lose their mind.
It's all about discipline.
You know who else ran out of gas was SMU, playing just like six guys, seven at the most.
You can't do that.
Got to have a little more depth than that, right?
So they got upset. Here's an upset.
What's that?
Depending on how you look at it. Tony Romo's still a Dallas Cowboy.
Pretty good, Rob.
Is that an upset?
Is it? I don't know. Based on reports on March 8th,
well, you're going to have
an upset.
You're going to have your hands full next week.
What does that mean?
Well, you know,
sources say
if
something's happening.
If a trade goes down, it's a lot easier when all the GMs and the owners and the presidents are all in the same spot for 3 days.
How convenient would that be for us, Rob? If the trade happened just 20 feet away from us while we're at the owners' meeting, that'd be nice.
We're just hanging out.
It might. You just hope they announce it.
Hey, well, you never know who we might see meeting there.
That's right.
Yeah, the principals will be there.
Yeah, bird dogs.
That's right.
Kent and Rob in Phoenix, Arizona.
We'll get it.
We will be there Sunday through Wednesday, which means you guys have the studio to yourselves next week.
Uh-oh. We better, well, no, all the good guests will be in Arizona.
That's right.
Yeah, we got MacArthur over there, though, hanging out in the semi-fort.
The semi-fort.
Douglas can produce for y'all. Yeah. And if we've got breaking news, then we'll check in. But so far, nothing's changed with Tony. He's a Cowboy. He's signed through 2019. And we'll just continue to track that story as we go.
Yeah, and I think we probably could quickly clear up that signing Kellen Moore has no effect on the Tony Romo situation whatsoever.
It doesn't?
They could have done that last Thursday if they wanted to announce it. They just waited till Monday. So I don't think that means anything.
So he signed to a one-year deal potentially as the number 3 quarterback. I mean, they could always draft a guy for some competition.
Yeah,
Stephen
Rob.
Jones said when he talked about the quarterbacks 2 weeks ago that they would probably have Kellen Moore and another veteran or Kellen Moore and a young quarterback. And that's the way he put it, as what they would have behind Dak Prescott. So now the Kellen Moore part's done, and certainly costing them a lot less than spending $6 million on Josh McCown as a backup.
To the Jets.
I told you.
What's that?
Kellen Moore.
Right?
They've been, I like Moore.
I like more.
I like Moore, and here he is.
Kent, what's up?
I was going to say, Jerry said his ideal scenario would be to have your starter and then a veteran and then a guy you're developing. I think Jason Garrett has said that too. So now the question is, who's the guy you're developing and who's the veteran backup and who's the starter? Because you could be developing Dak while simultaneously having a veteran behind him, but Kellen's also a veteran, or you could have Dak as the starter and then Kellen's the guy you're trying to develop. So, or you could draft a guy who you're trying to develop. So we'll see what they end up doing. They've kind of stuck to that template over the years, so maybe they'll alter it this year. Who knows? Since Romo couldn't play, they brought in Sanchez last year to be that veteran.
Yeah.
So I guess Kellen kind of is the guy you're developing at this point.
Or is he the mentor type guy for Dak?
Who knows?
That depends
I think
what
it's valuable guy to
veterans
have around
available.
regardless.
So if the Jets can pay $6 million for a backup, Cowboys certainly could pay 7 or 8 for a backup, right? That they're already paid money to.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it costs.
Goes back to our discussion last week.
It costs for a backup.
I know. And if you're looking at it, and I appreciate you because you're looking at this completely objectively. If you're just looking at Tony Romo as a football player, a backup quarterback, he's a pretty good backup
A
quarterback.
content backup quarterback.
Right. Well,
He's a good football player.
That's right, Jason.
He's a really valuable part of our football team.
That's exactly right, too.
Do we have any more videos come out that we need to discuss?
Kent, is there an Instagram post from Tony the last couple days?
He's been posting stuff of his kids, just stuff he's kind of had over that are funny videos of his kids. Nothing really relating to where he's going to go or he might end up, I don't think. But he's definitely staying active in social media and trying to keep a positive mindset on this whole thing. I'm sure he just wants it to be over. So
I'm going to lay all that.
Question.
I'm going to lay all that in the lap of cousin Andy. By the way,
if it drags on too long, how long will it take to kind of sour the relationship more? You know, how long is the do right thing apply here?
How do you know it's getting sour?
Yeah,
I think Tony wants to be the backup here.
It ain't never a do right deal when you have a.
Was anybody clamoring to sign
level.
him or trade for him?
Do I think the Cowboys have gotten offers for Tony Romo? Absolutely.
Okay, but they weren't.
They'll hold their cards until
they weren't
have
good
to deal
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's why I used the word clamoring.
you're pointing out
Because if the offer's not enough, then there's no clamoring.
I don't know if you can get to OTAs and not have this figured out.
I know this right here. Go ahead on, Rob.
Well, I was going to you. You're pointing out that this is a business.
Yes, it is. And just like Mickey made great sense 2 weeks ago in his statement, why would you just let him go free and not try to get something for him? That applies more and more each week. So, I maintain your options run out of good teams in a hurry. If the draft pick or however they do it, or for another player and a draft pick, however they do it, eventually the good teams run out, and you got to start saying, "Oh, okay, what about a Bears team? Or what about this team?" And Tony may not like that.
Right. He does. I guess you could say he holds some cards because he could just say, "Nah, I'd rather retire than play for that team."
Right.
Well, and does anybody know what anybody's offering him to play for?
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
Like a contract, because they got to accept the $14 million base for 24 hours before they can restructure it.
Yeah.
So is anybody willing to pay him something that'll replace the $14 million?
But you qualified it, what you just said a few minutes ago.
What's that?
A content backup.
Yeah, got to be content with it.
This is different than down the road with the Mavs and Dirk Nowitzki transitioning into a six-man role eventually or something. When you're a backup quarterback, you ain't playing unless something happens to the starter.
Right.
So you're basically saying the last couple years I've got potentially in this league, I'm just going to sit there.
Can I make you happy if I say, okay, I'm going to pay you $7 million? And all you have to do is be the backup?
You can make me happy, but I haven't,
okay.
My earning power hasn't exactly been Tony's the
Your
last.
competitive drive's not quite.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When Mr. Jones stated, "Hey, we'll work this out," and Tony is similar to me, and da da da. I just, okay, Mr. Jones, respect what you're saying, but when it all boils down, you have to do what's best for your team, and your team may be sending Tony to a not so good team, or a team that you don't know where they're at, because it is kind of year-to-year thing now with these teams.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of figure.
Yeah.
And how much does somebody want to pay for a quarterback? We'll soon find out. But the Cowboys get basically a sweetheart deal for Kellen Moore because they didn't give him any signing bonus, so all he plays for is the veteran benefit that they throw out there. So while he makes $775,000, his cap charge is only $615,000. Same thing they did with Darren McFadden. Because if you just sign the guy for no more than an $80,000 signing bonus, then you can give him that veteran minimum benefit, and that's why McFadden, who would have cost like $995, is only going to cost him $895 or $695. Excuse me.
So just hypothetically, if there's some competition there for that backup spot or one of the backup spots, if he doesn't make the cut in training camp, you're not on the hook for much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None at all. Not for Kellen Moore, and for McFadden, it only cost them $80,000 against the cap in dead money.
You're right. Darren McFadden is back. By the way, we didn't take any calls last week. We were so much to cover after the first few days of free agency.
Did we hog the air last week?
We hogged the air, fighting with each other. Is Nate pointing to Mickey?
Don't be pointing. Did your mama not teach you not to point?
So anyway, we welcome phone calls today, 888-855-2297. Tell us what you think about the Cowboys' moves or lack thereof, letting guys go, signing new guys these first couple weeks of free agency. Tweet us at Talkin Cowboys on Twitter as well. We're live on Periscope. Let's recap what they've done, guys, since we last had our show the previous Tuesday.
Quite a bit, right?
Not as much.
I forgot where we left off.
Well, they had already come to terms, and I think by the end of last Tuesday, they had officially signed their three new guys, DeMontre Moore, Stephen Paya, and Nolan Carroll.
Okay.
Three additions on defense. Since the show ended last week.
And probably Bryce Butler, too, right?
Bryce Butler's re-signed as well. They re-signed Jonathan Cooper, Nate, backup guard. Maybe he could play some center for them. Re-signed Darren McFadden, as Mickey mentioned, and Kellen Moore. But some guys have left. Some more guys. And T-Will. Lance Dunbar is gone.
Okay.
He is
See you later.
See you later. He is a Los Angeles Ram. And Nate, got to get into this with you because you talked about it with me before the show started. Two more defensive guys go. You can call them both starters. Brandon Carr, Mo Claiborne. Carr's a Raven. Mo is a Jet now. And the question I ask you guys is, how do you replace all these guys? Are you concerned about the defense?
You know, I just don't think what all these guys knew from playing together from the previous year is they all knew their roles. They all knew what was expected of them. More importantly, the coaches knew these guys. How do you just go and replace these guys? We got Malik Collins, we got Irving, we got a few guys, the kid Charles Tapper, who we don't know what he can do. I understand we got these guys, but you just can't lose a bunch of guys and then think every year you can just plug in a bunch of guys. And so that's my big issue is I know we're going to draft a few guys, but will this offense truly be that dominating to give these guys a chance to catch up?
Basically, Mick, they've lost not their entire secondary, but you're talking about Barry Church, starting safety, two starting corners, and J.J. Wilcox, who filled in the starting lineup.
His package was nice. His 20 plays or less a game was nice.
So, is it a big deal? I mean,
so let me ask. Do you trust Orlando Scandrick as a starting cornerback?
See, that's my problem is.
Do you?
No, I don't, because he's getting long in the tooth, and he's shown the ability to kind of miss a few games or for whatever reason.
Okay.
But now I like Brown.
He'll be
Do you trust Anthony Brown?
Yeah, I trust him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
6th round pick last year, taking another step.
we have to decide on what we think of Nolan Carroll. Is he a depth guy? Is he a 60 snap a game starter?
Got Heath. We got a.
So
See, that's at safety. Can Jeff Heath step right in?
and we don't know that. But again, let me ask you this. Has any team ever said, I'd have won the Super Bowl if I had a better strong safety?
No, but
And I know it's part of it, right?
Especially in this scheme.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
the thing about strong safeties is you can win with an adequate one, but if you have one like Ed Reed
Or Darren Woodson.
you turn the defense.
I'm
to
with
a whole
you.
Different.
I'm with you.
And I'm with you because I waited 2 years of saying, man, let Church get a better safety next to him and see how good he'll be.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Church
He's a Jaguar.
to enjoy the better safety.
Right. So what I'm saying is I feel like offensively we got guys that we've plugged in. Defensively, because we've been trying to fix the offense the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't got those guys. We got Jones at safety. We think we got something special in Malik Collins. We got Sean Lee. But then we got
Yeah, I mean, the secondary is going to look different. I think your hope, too, with Orlando Scandrick is they always say coming off an ACL, it's not the first year back, it's the second year where you're more yourself. Right. So maybe they're banking on that. He's been productive when he's been healthy. Carroll has had some injuries, but he played a full season last year in Philly.
Broadus says Carroll is better than Brandon Carr. That's an upgrade.
Okay.
Cool.
And if
value his
Brown
opinion?
is considered an upgrade over Mo, then
who is that?
Thinking you're in good shape.
Well, the thing I like about Brown is
Who's an upgrade over Mo?
If you're the coaching staff, you think Anthony Brown could be an upgrade over Mo.
Well, the biggest problem with Mo is he just couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if
he's an upgrade for the 7 games or 8 games that Claiborne played.
Right. Go ahead on me.
He wasn't the 6th overall pick either.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
Saying he's an upgrade, if he can stay healthy for 16 games, then he's an upgrade. But we'll see on the quality of how well he plays. I like him, and I think they'll be fine with him starting, and I hope he's starting at one spot.
Yeah, because we don't know his upside yet. Now, coming out of the draft, man, I thought we had hit gold with Mo because his upside was unlimited, but the injuries got him, and it started messing with him early in his career mentally, because, a guy that's used to just walking over people in college and all of a sudden you got your equal here in the pros. But he was good when he played. He was great when he played, I thought. But I'm thinking Brown, I'm not saying Brown has his athletic skills, but he's still learning. But I would like to see some pass rush because I think we missed a lot on Brandon Carr. We missed a lot on Church. And we definitely missed a lot on Scandrick when he's in the slot by not having that upfront pressure.
See, and I would rather see Scandrick do one thing, not both.
I don't
they
like
could just
both.
put him in the slot and say that's your spot,
right?
And have 2 guys in the outside. We'll find out about Nolan Carroll. We find out about if they can find a cornerback early in the draft that's ready to step in and play, which I don't know, if you can say, okay, that's going to happen. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's not a guy there at 28.
I haven't even messed with Broadus about the draft. I'm going up next week.
This is my two-pronged approach to this whole thing. Number one, okay, we talked about the guys that are leaving, specifically in the secondary. They're losing a couple safeties, a couple corners. I don't want to knock anything those guys did for this franchise. They played hard. They were productive. Some had injury problems.
Right.
And I love Cowboy Nation, but there's a lot of fans out there that wanted every single one of those guys gone. I mean, from what we hear on phone calls, tweets.
Yeah, why Church ain't making enough tackles? What we going to do with Mo Claiborne when he stays hurt? I'm with you.
People wanted J.J. Wilcox.
See, the luxury they had last year was depth.
Yes.
Because when Scandrick was hurt, Claiborne was playing. Right? When Church was hurt, J.J. Wilcox was playing. Now, those are 2 guys everybody wanted to get rid of. Right? When La'el Collins was hurt, oh, Ron Leary was playing. Another guy everybody wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I think from a depth standpoint, they can't absorb injuries yet the way they did last year. That might have been one of the strengths of this team last year, was absorbing injuries.
Yeah, it wasn't that much drop off, if any, when a guy played.
When Darren McFadden wasn't ready to play between Morris and Dunbar, once he got healthy, they absorbed that backup running back spot. But now the luxury has been eliminated because of free agency.
The other side of it, mainly talking about the secondary, is even though you signed Nolan Carroll, did you box yourself into feeling like you got it? And you sort of alluded to this earlier. You got to take a corner or a safety, maybe relatively high in the draft, because the way they approach free agency every year is they try to at least put Band-Aids on things and try to cover themselves enough at each position to where they can just go enter the draft and say best available. I don't know if they can do that at this point. Now, free agency is not over yet. The draft is still 5-6 weeks away. But do you feel like they've got to enter the draft and say, we still need a corner for depth, as you just said, or safety for depth?
Depends on where you're talking.
But this is what I've always believed is, as long as you ain't moving up or down more than a couple of players, I think you're always okay. It's when you know what I'm saying, when you do one of them 5 or 6 players, you're going the wrong direction, whether it's up or down. But if you stay within your range, because the fortunate thing about us is we got the right people in place to pick. Now you just got to you got to pick it. But now I believe that sometime when you are hurting in an area, like defensively, when the third round comes, if that guy's there that you really want, we can't let nobody get that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
that guy,
what's going to happen is late in the first round, somebody's going to want to jump up and get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And who's the guys that everybody's kind of projecting late?
I mean, I don't know. Deshaun Watson's been all over the board. He might be a late first-round pick somewhere.
And then the other guy from Notre Dame, Kaiser.
Yeah.
And then who's the next quarterback?
Pat Mahomes.
Mahomes, thank you, Kent.
Tech.
And a lot of people look at Mahomes sort of, I think, the way they looked at last year when they traded up late into the first round for a quarterback. And that may be the spot the Cowboys have. And if you can get somebody with the first, second, third pick in the second round to trade spots with you.
You're talking about Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch, yeah. And then here's the other thing. You mentioned safety. I don't know that you could spend 2 first-round resources on a safety.
Well, they say the top 2 safeties will be gone. They say they just that good. They
LSU, yeah.
I mean, I just don't know that you can qualify having 2 first-round picks at safety.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to develop one. That's a developmental position.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Now, cornerback's a different story.
I think
depending if who's available, because I don't want those 5'10" corners.
I do think, Nate, they're confident in Jeff Heath. If he needs to be the starter week 1, I think they feel okay with that.
You don't have a problem with that, but bottom line, you got to get some defense. And Mick said it best, depth. You got to be with the type of defense that we play, all out, 100% every play. You can't afford not to have depth.
Especially on your D-line.
That is your mantra. We come at you in waves. So now, okay, we got one safety, we got a half a backup corner, and our defensive line, though young, is unproven. Charles Tapper's not proven. David Irvin has not shown the consistency we need. So right now we're talking about Malik Collins. We lost Jack Crawford too, right?
Yes.
So that right there was a big deal. Now, believe it or not, we back to Kyle Wilbur, fellas. Coming up in the situation of pass rush, okay? Am I wrong with what I'm saying?
You know what? We got a question from Coach John about that. We take that when we come back. By the way, 888-855-2297 is the number. Give us a call. Tell us what you think about the depth, the free agency, what the draft could hold for the Cowboys Next on Talkin'
So what John you going to talk about?
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
just one more episode.
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Hey, Cowboys fans. Did you know that over the next few years, more than 1 million service members will transition from military to civilian life? Veterans face unique challenges when they get out of the military, and Bank of America and the Dallas Cowboys are teaming up to help with financial education, career opportunities, and support of military nonprofits and organizations locally in North Texas and across the country. We're proud to support our troops and are deeply grateful for the dedication and sacrifice of our service members and veterans. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys, invites you to join us in our efforts to get involved by tagging game day photos on social media using hashtag TroopThanks, that's hashtag TroopThanks, and by learning more about our commitment to veterans at bankofamerica.com/military support. Together, we can thank our troops in ways that make a real difference.
Copyright 2016, Bank of America Corporation.
I went to my first Cowboy football game at the Cotton Bowl when I was 10 years old. I've been a Cowboy fan ever since, in the Super Bowl years and the not-so-good ones. Teamwork is what makes winners. At the law office of Domingo Garcia, we play as a team to win your case. If you have been hurt in a car or truck accident, injured on the job, call the law office of Domingo Garcia and join our winning team. With offices in Dallas, Houston, Austin, Odessa, and Tyler, we can help you in Texas. Call 214-941-8300. 214-941-8300.
This is Talkin' Cowboys.
In football, adjusting your plays are key to a win, but underwear adjustments are something we'd rather avoid. That's why there's Tommy John, the 21st century men's underwear that never rides up. Tommy John, no adjustment needed. Shop exclusive Cowboys underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Tommy John's don't ride up, but I think Mick just rolled up.
Right up.
That's Tommy John, not Chummy John.
Tommy John.
Tommy John.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mickey. Welcome back to Talking Cowboys inside the SWBC Mortgage Studio on a Tuesday.
Hey, before you go to that call, can I say this?
What's that?
Did we forget about Kayvon Frazier? Does anybody think he can play?
We'll find out this year.
Can he challenge?
We'll find out.
Who are you?
Can Jamel Showers play? Remember, he was a
Quarterback?
safety.
He is a safety now.
Right?
As of the end of the season, maybe
Right.
it's changed again.
I think this kid.
Leon McFadden, they put him on the 53. So you need guys like this. This is how you regenerate your roster if these guys can step up and do anything for you.
Well, Nate, you asked about the D line, discussing depth, and can they come at you in waves with Rod Marinelli's style of a rotation next year? Coach John checked in with me and was asking, how many right ends do they have on this roster right now? Guys that can really rush the passer. And that's a fair question. I think DeMontre Moore might be that type of guy in a rotation that can step in and do that. But you got DeMarcus Ware coming off surgery.
DeMarcus who?
I'm sorry, DeMarcus Lawrence.
They wish they had DeMarcus Ware coming off.
DeMarcus
well,
Ware
he
on
is
the brain.
coming off surgery. That's okay.
He's retired. DeMarcus Lawrence.
Oh, he said he is.
Back.
You're
right. So he's
DeMarcus Lawrence.
You got three guys: DeMarcus Lawrence, Benson Mayowa, and DeMontre Moore.
Yeah, but
I didn't say how good they can be. I
understand, and I'm not attacking from that point, Mick. But my belief is this: it comes a point where, regardless of what you thought of Church, Brandon Carr, you need guys that's going to line up every game, and that's what we haven't got. We got it from Malik Collins this year. We got it from Terrell McClain this year. We got it from Jack Crawford. That allows us to have that depth because certain guys, when you just look over there and check mark, we can depend on this guy. Now, he may not be the superstar, but he's going to play. He's going to be more than adequate at the position. That's what Brandon Carr gave us this year. That's what Church has gave us over the years. You know, when you put better players around them, then their level goes up.
Here's your D-line at this point.
Yes, sir.
DeMarcus Lawrence, Cedric Thornton, Mayowa, Irving, Malik Collins, Tyrone Crawford, DeMontre Moore, and Stephen Paya. That's your rotation at this point. You can bet they'll add a draft pick somewhere, I would think.
Yeah.
At least one to that rotation.
Charles Tapper, right?
Charles Tapper as well.
Kind of like adding him if he can play.
Yeah.
That's another one coming off the back injury. So we'll see. Let's see what the fans think. Kent, what's cooking online?
Michael in San Antonio. What's up?
Okay, I had one comment and one question. First off, I'm a huge Tony Romo fan, and I would have been devastated when we lost to the Packers because I know that window's closing. But now that we're starting over and going fresh, I like the moves the Cowboys are making because I want to go ahead and build that defense with young players. Even if we go ahead and take a step back next year, that's fine because I want to build a young team because we don't have enough money to go around. We've got to pay Zach. And that leads me to my question. In this draft, I'm hearing if you need a defensive end or a defensive back, this is the draft you need. Now, we're going to get compensatory picks next year, but what about using our very own mid-round draft picks like 4th or 5th or 6th from next year's draft to move into this draft to go ahead and fill this defense with young players? I want to start new, just do like what Jimmy Johnson did and just build a young team for the future. And I'll hang up, listen to you guys talk about it.
And if we had that Herschel Walker trade, we really could accelerate this thing.
That's the idea, though. You got to build through the draft.
Yeah.
He makes a good point about compensatory picks for next year because they didn't get any this year. By my count, and I'm an Aggie, so it could be off here, but they've re-signed 6 players from last season. They've signed 3 new guys in free agency, and 9 players have left their roster. So they're in line next year for, I would think, the maximum of 4 compensatory picks, and they could be pretty solid mid-round draft picks. He brings up the question, the caller did, could they try to dip into next year's pool and try to address things now?
What do you mean next year's pool?
Well,
give away some picks next year.
Well, you can't trade what you don't have.
Well, you can trade 2018 picks.
No, I'm saying you can't trade the compensatory ones because you don't have them.
No, but you could trade what you have coming up.
Yeah, if somebody will do that.
Right. Right.
A lot of people don't like doing that.
That's right.
Because then next year you never know what your needs are, and then you go, oh, I wasted all that last year on that. Mm-hmm. I think you got to be very judicious on that, doing that kind of stuff.
You take them as they come. Our defense, since Marinella has been here, and Coach Kiffin came, they haven't been big on just getting that stud player, defensive lineman. Well, I put it like this: they haven't felt that it was necessary. But if you don't go out like the Demetrius Moore and the Steven guy, if they got to come in and play, they got to have some impact because I like what the caller said when he said, "Hey, we may take a step back," but I don't want to take a step back because of that.
And no one, and that's fine to say in March.
Yeah.
But when it's October and the steps being taken back, ain't nobody happy.
Nah, so I just he's in theory sounds great, but this team in the last 3 years has been to the playoffs, has had pretty decent records. You know, that last year was an ugly deal, but the year before was
and you just
this
can't,
team is on its way.
And you can't re-sign everybody. It's just impossible.
You wrote about that last Friday.
You know, it's like half the people out there are going, you know, why are we always right up against the salary cap? Well, a lot of it has to do with re-signing the players you want to keep. And then the other half are like, well, why don't you re-sign these guys? Well, if you do that, then you got the same salary cap problem because you're overpaying for guys. You have to develop from the bottom up. It's necessary in this league if you're going to be able to afford your stars. And the Cowboys have stars on the offensive line. They have a star at running back. They have a star at wide receiver. They have a star at tight end. You know, that's where the money's going. People keep asking, where's all the money going? Well, that's where it's going. They had a star at quarterback who got hurt 2 years before they anticipated it happening when they structured the contract. So that's where the money goes. I think I figured out that of the top 10 top 10 contracts on the team are eating up, and this is just cap space for this year, $76.345 million. The cap's 167, right? So that's almost 50. It's 45% of your salary on 10 guys. Well, who are they? Romo, Dez, Witten, Tyron Crawford, Tyron Smith, Sean Lee, Ezekiel Elliott, Orlando Scandrick, Travis Frederick, and Cedric Thornton. And of those 10, you would say, okay, Thornton didn't come through for me, and Tyron Crawford right now is probably making a little bit more money than his production shows.
Right.
But 8 of those guys, until Romo gets hurt, that's what happens. So they've spent their money on stars, and that's kind of what you got to do. You can't just let everybody go, but you can let guys that you think are kind of complementary players, and you got to regenerate those guys.
Yeah, and money always factors in. I would like to think they would have liked to bring back a Barry Church.
Yeah, but how much?
Exactly. And other pieces like J.J. Wilcox. Hey, you drafted Kayvon Frazier probably to eventually be that guy. So we'll see. We'll see. But the caller made a good point in terms of the draft, and on paper what it says, pass rush, cornerback, safety, very deep supposedly. So maybe there's the thinking in the front office that they kind of peaked with those guys, and they can draft better players than they had on the roster last year. They'd just be younger players.
Well, yeah, you're inexperienced, and the way you get it, where you help with inexperience is play them. You know defensively that these young guys that they pull in here, especially how they did, Malik Collins was ready to do Charles Talbot. They was ready to play these guys, so they already ahead of the curve. They ain't waiting.
As long as they're healthy.
Yeah, they ain't waiting, man. It's like we're going to find out right now, can you play?
I mean, we saw Malik Collins.
Yeah.
All we had to do was go out there until he got hurt and say, this guy can play.
Yeah.
He's going to be out there. And so, when you were talking about defensive ends, if Collins can play, Paya can play.
More, yeah.
And more, Tyrone Crawford may go back out to defensive end. Who knows? He may be your strong side defensive end.
He's got to be more productive.
Yeah.
He's got to be more productive.
Well,
I mean,
they looked at him as a 3 technique, and I think Malik Collins got that spot now. I don't think there's any question about it.
Well, the 1 technique is open.
Well, that should be Paya.
Yeah.
I don't know that Crawford's a 1 technique. Or he certainly can get big enough to do that because he had to kind of drop weight to play defensive end.
But you're right. That was the role envisioned for him in Rod's defense, was that Warren Sapp 3 technique, push the pocket type of guy.
And he hadn't stayed healthy. It's hard to play that spot when you got a bad shoulder that needs rotator cuff surgery each of the last 2 off seasons.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out.
All right, let's take our final break. We come back. Let's keep the phone calls rolling. 888-855-2297 as we continue breaking down what the Cowboys have added, what they've lost, and what could be next in free agency in the draft. Next.
To work this big land, you need equipment with values rooted as deep in Texas soil as you are. Like John Deere compact tractors with a 6-year powertrain warranty and big features that help you work less so you have more time to do what you love. John Deere was first in the Texas fields, and we're proud to be on the field as the official ag and turf equipment of the Dallas Cowboys. Find Texas-sized deals at myjohndeerdealer.com/football. Terms, conditions, exclusions, and warranty limitations apply. See dealer for details.
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
just one more episode.
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, Cowboy legends, cheerleaders, and me, Brian Broaddus. Want to stay at the team hotel? With Star Sports Tours, you can. And our outstanding ticket selection is unmatched. You can trust the official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit starsportstours.com to book your travel packages today.
Ice Cold Dr. Pepper and the Dallas Cowboys go way back. They belong together like Texas and football, silver and blue, shotgun formations and Hail Marys. Having a Cowboys football party without Dr. Pepper is like Thanksgiving without the Cowboys. Basically, we wouldn't recommend it. So, next time you have a tailgate, home gate, or whatever else kind of gate, grab some ice cold Dr. Pepper to make your Cowboys party one of a kind. Dr. Pepper, a Dallas Cowboys tradition.
This is Talkin' Cowboys.
Hey, let's not forget about Papa John's Pizza because we know why it tastes so great.
Why is that, Mick?
You know those ingredients, Nate?
What's ingredients is those,
Like
Mick?
veggies?
Yes.
The ones that come fresh, whole, never frozen?
Never frozen.
And the pepperoni, 100% pork and beef.
Mm-hmm.
And Papa John can make that for you every time because it's better pizza.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Mickey.
Yes.
Very well done.
By the way,
better basketball.
Speaking of basketball, shout out to the UTA Mavericks. Won their second round game in the NIT tournament. Going to play Wednesday night at College Park in Arlington.
To our folks around the world,
Cal State Bakersfield is the opponent.
UTA is University of Texas at Arlington.
That's right.
Just down the road from AT&T Stadium, huh?
I thought it was University of Texas at San Antonio.
That's SA.
That's your team.
That's your team.
Yeah, I was just messing with me.
So keep an eye on those Mavericks.
All right. All right. We'll continue keeping an eye on free agency. How about that?
Let's go.
Let's go back to the phone lines, Kent. Who we got?
Yeah, Horace, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I'm not too concerned about some of the losses that we've had from free agency. I'm more concerned about us drafting some defensive talent. Our history hasn't been so well in us drafting defensive players. You know, Byron Jones was a solid player, but he's not Ed Reed. So I'm more concerned about them hitting home runs, and we have to have a pass rusher. I mean, I would be willing, me personally, I would be willing to move up to get a Solomon or somebody like that. But I know he's probably going to be second, third person pick, so it's going to be hard to get somebody like that. But I need somebody that's going to give me 10 to 12 sacks a year. Like, you know, that war daddy that he's talking about, that Jerry's talking about. And I really wish that we would have tried to keep Leary. That's the one person that I'm really concerned about us losing, because I felt like with Free retiring, I think that it's going to be really, really difficult for us to maintain that dominance that we had on the offensive line if we throw in Green or, you know, have to go with one of the other backups, because we need to be dominant over there. We can't have that side of the line to be the weak link. And I think if you would have had Leary, you know, or if you decide to draft a tackle first round, that would be okay. But I think that would be the only route that you could go. But we really need to strengthen up the defense. This draft really needs to be focused on defense. And tight end is not a position that I would try and get in the first round. I've seen some mocks that say we should get a tight end. I wouldn't do that at all. But, you know, I think getting a war daddy, like Jerry said, is the key. And you got to do that through either that first pick moving up to get that pick or a free agent. And we haven't touched anybody in free agency. So I just wonder what you guys think about that.
Thanks, Horace. Appreciate the call. Great call. You know, Jerry was asked about that, Kent, on the bus in Indy. Yep. How do you get a war daddy? And he said, you've got to be aggressive. And that they've been aggressive, trading up to get DeMarcus Lawrence, taking a chance on Randy Gregory in the second round. It hasn't always paid off, but
Jalen Smith, he said too.
Jalen Smith, yeah, at the linebacker position, but a guy that can impact a defense. You might have to trade up, do something like that if you see a guy you really want.
Well, qualify trade up.
Well, within reason.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's talking about moving up to number 3.
That's impossible.
Okay.
I mean, it's not impossible, but it's...
He said that, but...
You can get to from 28, you probably can qualify getting to somewhere around 22, 23, somewhere in there. If you
and not give up a lot.
If you see somebody falling.
The problem here is you have to, if you do that, you got to hit. Because that means you're giving up something in that, and they're going to want something in return in that draft. Unless if you go into the next draft, you're willing to give up something real, real nice. They're gonna want you to replace that. So what you have to do here is not only be smart, you got to know that this player can come and give it to you.
You got to be real high on it.
Real
because
high.
let's talk about it. If you're going to move from 28 to, say, 22, you're giving up Malik Collins.
Yeah, you're going to have to give up something.
You're going to lose your third.
Yeah.
You may be exchanging somewhere else in the draft.
And we just talked about last segment how important depth is.
So do you want to throw numbers at the problem, or do you want to go up and sacrifice numbers for take a hit on quality?
Yeah.
But as Nate said, though, if you're doing that, you darn well better be right.
Yeah, because you can't and this is our time. This is our part of the year where we panic because last year, I spent half the season saying, when is we going to get our defense some credit? But during the offseason, I was like, boy, we garbage. Wow, man, we got to average 80 points a game. That's what I was saying all last offseason.
In Oxnard, we said that.
And they came close.
Yeah.
Over 15 games, they averaged 27.
Yeah, but our defense kind of played better than I thought.
Yeah,
defense allowed under 20 points a game, which I think nobody expected that, except the guys probably in that locker room.
Or the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Horace Caller made a point as well about wide receiver and tight end. And I tell you, an underrated signing here, re-signing, is Terrence Williams. Because I don't know about you guys, I was surprised that they got him back for 4 years and $17 million. And all of a sudden you're looking at the draft and thinking, okay, they don't have to spend a second-round pick on a receiver.
Oh, you don't want Mike Williams now because some mock draft put him to the Cowboys at 28?
When? Recently?
This week, yeah. That's the new
I
rate.
mean, you don't have to take O.J. Howard at 28 and work some two tight end sets to make up for the loss of Terrence Williams. I think you've settled yourself at that spot, at least for next season.
We all got that crazy guy that we wouldn't mind having. That's my crazy guy.
Who's that?
The Bama kid.
O.J.
I'm a big fan of him too.
That's my freaky guy this year.
See, and when we talk about that stuff. And
That's
when people bring that stuff up, you got to tell me, who am I taking this guy instead of? Who else? What are my other choices? Because if there's no other really solid first-round choices, there's no way that guy's going to get to 20.
Let me say this right here.
There is no way.
Lane Kiffin, wherever you at, you messed that up. This kid is something special.
He was asked in Indy, I was sitting right there, Kent was too, why he didn't get the ball more. Were you disappointed you didn't get the ball more at Bama? And he said, yeah, I was.
That's my kid, man.
All right.
That's all.
I got you down.
It's going to have to be what their board says at the time. If their highest rated pass rusher is a third-round grade or something like that at the time, and you've got a 1 on Howard and nobody else, and you don't want to draft a offensive guard or something, you know, might be the pick. I could see them totally doing that.
Yeah, I could too.
A lot of times things don't make sense. But you put this kid at one side and you put Jason Witten at the other side. How?
It sounds nice.
How?
How do you defend that?
How do you defend that?
With Cole Beasley in there too, maybe?
Yeah, and Dez standing out there.
And let's not discount that you have a young quarterback, that you might want to put some extra comfort around him, some new weapons.
Brother, now that's the only offensive guy you're going to get me to start
get excited about.
Yeah, but the rest of them, wide receiver, nah.
Offensive tackle.
Unless we get a little kid from La Tech. Get him in the seventh.
If they drafted just O.J. Howard in the first round and that's the only offensive player that they take, I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, it's deep enough to where you go best player available at 28, and then that second, third round, it's deep enough supposedly that you could find your pass rusher, find a corner.
Or best offer at 28.
But, I think what these guys in the draft and what I saw in Mobile and what I've been seeing just when I listen to the thing they just had here in the past where they be running around in the underwear. A lot of these guys are not great athletes, but I heard a lot of them is just motor guys that, that just keep going, that just keep hustling, that just keep playing. Like, it's a kid at Florida, defensive end, not a lot of great numbers. His dad played in the league, the Cox kid. He's a hustle guy. He's just a guy that you can play at a lot of different positions. I don't know if he fits what Rob wants, but he's long. He's got everything. I mean, here it is. I mean, I don't think he's going in the first round because his numbers didn't crank up right.
I'll say this, Nate. From what Broadus has told us watching tape, Mick, he's high on DeMontre Moore. He thinks, not precluding them from drafting anybody, but from his tape in Seattle, and that's where he finished up last year, he was productive for them. And maybe he can be a guy like a Benson Mayo where you're not spending much in free agency, but he can give you something in the rotation next year.
And that is so true because, like I said, last year this time we were sitting here, I'm like, wow, man, we got to score 80,000 points. But these guys came together and they played great defense for the most part of the year. They had their bumps in the road, but
Mayo got benched for 2 games, but came back and was probably the best pass rusher.
Lit a fire underneath him.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to keep that fire underneath him. And if you look at Moore, you're going to get his best shot because this is his last shot.
Yeah.
If he fails here, no one else taking a chance on him because no one took a chance on him this year. You got a 1-year deal. I think there was some incentives, but I don't believe there was a signing. It was a $100,000 signing bonus. You don't
1-year deal with Cowboys. That's all it says.
And so
been on 3 teams the last couple of years.
So this is it for him.
Yeah.
So you're going to get his best if the best is to be gotten.
It's
that's
just
proper English.
Sure.
It's bad, and we all sitting here, us 3, and you callers who have been great, know that, and I'm not forgetting Kent and the Garrison, we need defense, and we need it like, hotcakes on the griddle bubbling. But it still comes down to if you can't get that first round pick, because you ain't going up no 15 spots and give away your whole draft. So if you can't get that guy where you sitting at, you got to look and say, okay, okay, let's be strong somewhere. Let's keep strengthening the offense. It ain't but one guy that I feel that can do that, and that's that kid from Bama. That is the one guy, unless we find a offensive tackle. If we find a young offensive tackle that can come in here and play right now.
One name that I've seen drop some is the tackle from Alabama.
Yeah.
Cam Robinson.
Right.
He's been down in the 20s.
Right.
So,
see, that right there.
Can you do that? And see, I can say that now, right. But what am I taking him instead of?
Right.
Well, what are my other choices at that point?
Don't know.
I think your other choices is it's a lot of depth. Like they say, it's a lot of depth, okay? But in order for a defensive lineman to come in, it's rare that a defensive lineman can come in and impact the league.
Especially a defensive end. It usually takes a year or 2.
Yeah, so.
I mentioned D. Ware by accident, who's retiring 8 sacks as a rookie.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty good, but he wasn't the 20-sack guy for another few years.
And so it's gonna be ugly. It's not gonna be pretty for the first year, even if you get that guy at 28. But if that guy is sitting at 22 and you move up, he's got to be right.
So here's what it's going to depend on, especially at defensive end. How do you evaluate DeMonte Moore? Do you think he's a player, or you just think you're hoping? And there's no way to find out because you don't have any OTAs before the draft.
Right.
So your scouting, your evaluation has to be top notch. Can the medical people tell me that Charles Tapper is good to go?
Yeah,
because
solid.
If he's good to go, I got me a guy.
Right.
I got me a steal in the 4th round, like I got a steal in Malik Collins in the 3rd round. But how much confidence do I have in that he's physically ready to go? Because then I don't have to extend myself. If those 2 guys can play. Now, we don't know that, though. No one knows that. Now, maybe they do. I don't know what their confidence is in those 2 guys at defensive end.
Because it comes a point where those coaches sit around and look at each other along with the head of the scouting department say, we living with this guy. Somebody going to have to say, we living with this guy so we can draft here.
What's your conviction?
Yeah.
Kent, anything you want to hit before we get out of here?
Yeah, a couple things on Twitter. First, we're going to hit this from Rico. In your opinion, talking to you guys, what would you consider a good trade offer for Tony Romo if Houston offered you a fifth?
A fifth?
Would you do it?
No.
That's the best thing on the table.
Really?
A fifth?
To a team Tony
for a
wants to go.
starting quarterback?
Everything I hear from people, the talking heads in the media is, well, they just want to get something.
Well, that's why they're talking heads.
Right. Well, that's outside the building, but I'm just saying.
What would it take for you to pull the trigger?
I would have
somebody offered you a one tomorrow.
I would have to have at least a first round?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter who it was?
No.
It was the, who knows? The Bears? Somebody like that?
The Bears just spent a lot of money on a starting quarterback. Right? Didn't they sign Glenn?
What if it's a team that can beat you?
What's a team that can beat me?
What if it's Washington that offers
I can't
you a
worry
one?
about that.
You can't?
No. If
And
Washington
you better not worry about it.
if Washington offered me a first round pick, I'd run to the nation's capital with the pick in my hand.
All right.
Because I think the best they're going to do is maybe a conditional third that can improve by how much he plays, how well he plays, things like that.
I could see that too, hypothetically.
But a fifth, that's like giving him away. I might as well keep him and make him a June 1 release to spread out the cap hit.
That's why I'm telling you, if you're a very good team, and you ain't finna be giving up first, second, and third rounds. That's what I'm saying. This ain't it started out, and it sounds good. What's best for Tony? We're going to make sure Tony's happy.
Do right
As
rule,
weeks go on, it may not be what makes Tony happy.
Here's the question, though. Are teams not flying at Tony because of the contract or because they don't think he's a player that can take them to the Super Bowl?
No, I think they're worried about the injury.
There's questions about his health that he'll be 37 next month.
The contract, all you got to do is hold it for one year.
restructure it.
I mean, 1 day, and then restructure it, and that's got to be a part of the agreement. He's got to agree ahead of time to be able to do the restructure. And you say, "This is what we're thinking. What do you think?" And if he says no, then okay, fine.
Yeah.
Then that backup job's looking better and better
every day.
See, there's
Every
more.
day.
There's more to it than just getting something.
I believe.
Would you do it for a fifth, Rob?
If that's my best offer, and he
on draft day, that's your best offer on the table is a fifth from Houston.
See, people talk about the draft as being a time where this could move. Jerry's always said a player's value is at his lowest on draft weekend.
Yeah,
I just
because
don't-
everybody values the picks.
Yeah, I don't know if I see that happening. But I mean,
Understand this right here, fellas.
what's that, Nate?
It's more, and I keep saying it every week, it's more bad teams out there than good. And Tony chances every week goes up more and more that a bad team going to get him. I think Houston made some moves to try to make sure they're in position to get Tony.
Yeah, if you look at it in that way, Nate.
Yeah, they made some moves because it's no other. See, my logic is this: who's better than Tony right now on the market?
If you need a quarterback.
If you need a quarterback.
And how many teams in the NFL have a viable starter that can win you playoff games? And when you think about teams in the AFC, look at your quarterback, look at your offense, and say, can I beat Tom Brady in January? And how many teams can say that?
Nobody.
There aren't many teams.
The Raiders may think they got a shot at
Maybe.
don't.
If he's
That's what I'm
healthy.
saying.
Yeah.
Even Big Ben them don't look as good because their defense ain't nowhere near what it used. So they don't even look as good. When I'm gonna tell you, man, I was driving up to San Francisco from L.A. when this broke. When all this was breaking, I'm sitting here listening like, this is great. They just got rid of Osweiler to Cleveland with a second-round pick and da-da-da. I say, Tony's going to land on his feet. But I guess the owner say, well, we're going to wait for Jerry to call us. I don't know what's going on. Are they waiting to we'll let Rob break
They're
in
waiting
the
for
lobby.
Rob to get to
Yeah, we'll let Rob break it in the lobby.
You think Kid and I are going to be busy next
Yeah.
week,
I think you will be, yes.
Well, you never.
The rumors will be bouncing off the walls.
We will, though.
And we will be calling you.
That's right.
Rob and I will have a face-to-face with Jerry there for an hour like we did at the Combine. So
He typically
just put it on the table. We'll get some more.
Just the two of you guys.
No, the media, local media will meet with him again. They typically do every year, so we look forward to that. Jason Garrett also has a coach's breakfast every year.
So I'm going to give you 3 choices.
Mm-hmm.
A, will he have a private jet? B, will he have a helicopter? C, will he have a bus? D, all of the above.
I don't know.
At the end.
Oh, you mean Jerry?
Yeah. No,
I thought you meant Romo.
No, I was talking about next week.
Planes, trains, and automobiles, Nate. A lot of vehicle options.
Yeah.
I'll go with the private jet and the bus.
Along with Papa John's?
And Papa John's.
It's always on the bus.
Okay.
All right.
That's it?
That's it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for the calls, the tweets. Thanks to Kent for producing.
Great calls
Kent
today.
with his music's getting like my grandmother. Start winding the alarm clock when it was time for everybody to leave.
It's time to go. Mickey and Nate will be in studio next week, and Kent and I will check in with you.
Rob will be calling in.
I'll see if I can. I'm supposed to be busy. We'll see.
It's a 2-hour time change.
Oh, you're going to be sitting there waiting in the lobby.
And nothing happening at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, Rob.
A few of us will talk to you guys next week.
Have a great day.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?